You don't live here anymore, old man. Know your place. That's what my daughter-in-law said to me on Thanksgiving night, standing in the kitchen I built with my own hands 31 years ago. She said it loud enough for every guest to hear. Loud enough for my own son to pretend he didn't. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I walked to the hallway closet, pulled out a folder I'd kept hidden for months, and set something in motion that none of them saw coming. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is and where you're listening from. The morning started at 4:30. November dark, cold kitchen tiles under my bare feet, the kind of silence that belongs to a man alone in his own house. I pulled the 22-pound turkey from the brine, patted it dry, rubbed it down with sage butter the way my late wife Dorothy taught me in 1994. She had a system, herb butter under the skin, never on top. Citrus in the cavity, low and slow for the first 3 hours, then crank the heat for the finish. I followed her recipe like gospel every year since she passed in 2019. Nobody else in this house knew that recipe. Nobody else in this house cared. I should tell you how we got here. My son, Craig, married Vanessa 7 years ago. Big wedding at the country club in Lexington. I paid for half of it, $42,000. Dorothy was still alive then. She smiled through the whole ceremony but squeezed my hand during the reception and whispered, "Watch that one, Frank. She counts other people's money." Dorothy had instincts about people I never matched. For the first 4 years, everything seemed fine. Craig worked as a regional sales manager for a medical device company. Good salary, good benefits. Vanessa worked in marketing, freelance, though the jobs seemed to come and go. They bought a house in Chevy Chase, nice neighborhood, stretched budget. Then 18 months ago, Craig called me on a Tuesday night. His voice had that hollow quality you hear when someone's been crying but doesn't want to admit it. "Dad, I got laid off. The whole division. Vanessa's between contracts. We can't make the mortgage. Could we maybe stay with you for a couple months? Just until we land on our feet. Come home, son, both of you. Stay as long as you need." They arrived with a U-Haul trailer and their 8-year-old daughter, my granddaughter Sophie. 3 bedrooms upstairs meant there was room. I cleared out Dorothy's sewing room, the one I'd kept exactly as she left it, and made it into Sophie's room. That hurt more than I let on. But family helps family. The first month felt like family. Vanessa cooked dinner twice a week. Craig mowed the lawn, without being asked. Sophie and I played cards every evening after her homework. "Thank you, Dad," Craig said almost daily. "We'll be out of your hair before you know it." Month 2, the thank yous became weekly. Month 3, they stopped entirely. By month 6, things had shifted in ways I couldn't quite name at first. Small things. Vanessa rearranged the living room furniture without asking. My recliner, the one Dorothy bought me for my 60th birthday, got moved to the basement. Too bulky for the aesthetic, Vanessa said. Craig said nothing. I started noticing the money. My grocery bill doubled, then tripled. The electric bill climbed from $180 to $340. The water bill, the gas bill, the internet I upgraded because Vanessa said she needed faster speeds for her freelance work that never seemed to materialize. I tracked everything. 35 years in commercial real estate appraisal teaches you to document. Every receipt went into a folder. Every bill got photocopied. I didn't know why I was doing it at the time. Instinct, maybe. Dorothy's voice in the back of my mind saying, "Protect yourself, Frank." 8 months in, Craig asked me for money directly. $28,000. Credit card debt, he said. We got behind during the layoff. Collectors are calling Vanessa's phone 10 times a day. She's falling apart. I wrote the check, handed it to Craig in my study. He hugged me. "You're the best, Dad. I'll pay this back. Every cent." 3 months later, another request. $15,000. Vanessa's car needed replacing, and they found a used Volvo that was safe for Sophie. I wrote that check too. Then $7,000 for Craig's professional certification course that would help him get a better job. Then $4,000 for Vanessa's dental work that insurance didn't cover. $54,000 in documented checks over 14 months. Plus roughly $38,000 in living expenses I absorbed. I kept every receipt, every bank statement, every canceled check in a locked filing cabinet in my study. Not because I plan to use them, because I'm a man who documents things. Always have been. But here's what they didn't know, what nobody knew except my attorney and my accountant. When I sold my commercial real estate appraisal firm in 2018, the deal closed at $3.1 million. After taxes and fees, I netted just over $2 million. That money sat in investment accounts, growing quietly while I lived on my pension and Social Security in a paid-off house. I never told Craig, never told anyone. I wanted to see how people treated me when they thought I was just a retired old man with a modest pension. Dorothy had warned me, money changes people. Hide yours and you'll see the truth. She was right. The truth arrived in stages. Month 10. I came home from grocery shopping to find Vanessa had converted my study into her home office. My desk was in the garage. My filing cabinet was in the hallway. She'd hung motivational posters where my diplomas used to be. When I asked Craig about it, he shrugged. She needs a workspace, Dad. You're retired. What do you need to study for? Month 12. I overheard Vanessa on a video call with a friend while I was passing in the hallway. Her voice carried easily. We're basically supporting him at this point. He'd be in a nursing home without us. I mean, the house is falling apart. Craig's practically managing the property. The man watches TV all day. I'm paying all the bills. I document everything. The bills are in my name, charged to my accounts. I have never received a single dollar from either of them. Not one. Month 14. I found a printout on the kitchen counter. Vanessa had been researching adverse possession laws in Virginia. I photographed it with my phone. Didn't say a word. Month 15. Craig sat me down in my own living room, in a chair that used to be in the corner but was now front and center because Vanessa had rearranged everything. Dad, we've been talking, and we think it makes sense for us to take over the house. You could move into the in-law suite in the basement. Less stairs for you, less maintenance to worry about. We'd handle everything. The basement. Of my own house. The house I bought in 1993. The house where I raised Craig. The house where Dorothy died, peacefully, in our bedroom upstairs, holding my hand. I looked at my son. I'll think about it. I didn't think about it. I called my attorney, Gerald Whitfield. Old friend, sharp mind, retired judge, turned private practice. We played poker every other Friday at the VFW. Gerald, I need to protect my property. My son and his wife are living in my house, and they're making moves. Gerald came over the next day. Reviewed everything. Your name is sole on the deed. No lease, no rent payments, no documentation of any agreement. They're guests, Frank. Legally guests. But if they establish residency claims, it gets complicated. You need to set boundaries now, or prepare for what comes later. I prepared. Now we're back to Thanksgiving morning. 4:30 a.m. Turkey in the oven. Cranberry sauce from scratch. Cornbread dressing using Dorothy's mother's recipe from 1961. Sweet potato casserole. Green bean casserole. Homemade rolls. I cooked for 9 hours. Nobody helped. Craig slept until 10. Vanessa slept until 11. Then spent 2 hours doing her makeup. Sophie tried to help me once. Sweet girl came into the kitchen asking if she could stir something. Vanessa called from upstairs. Sophie, leave Grandpa alone. Come help me pick out table settings. Table settings. For my table. In my dining room. With my china. Guests started arriving at 4. Vanessa had invited them. Her sister Brooke and Brooke's husband Tyler, 2 couples from Vanessa's book club, whose names I learned for the first time at the door. Craig's college friend Marcus, who I did know and liked. 8 guests total, plus the 4 of us. 12 place settings. I'd set them all that morning. Vanessa played hostess from the moment the first guest arrived. Welcome to our home. Let me take your coats. Craig, get 'em drinks. She gave a tour of the house, my house. This is the living room we redecorated. This is the office where I work. Down the hall is Frank's room. He's Craig's father. He stays with us. He stays with us. I stood in the kitchen doorway, holding a platter of deviled eggs I'd made from scratch at 6 that morning, and heard my existence reduced to a footnote in my own home. Marcus caught my eye, gave me a look that said he understood. He was the only one. Dinner was called at 5:30. Vanessa directed seating. She sat at the head of the table. The head. Where I'd sat for 31 years, where Dorothy sat across from me for 26 of those years. Craig sat at the other end. Guests filled the sides. I looked for my place. There wasn't one. I pulled a chair from the wall, started to wedge it in between Marcus and Brooke. There was space, if people shifted slightly. Vanessa's hand came down on the table. Not a slam exactly. Firm, controlled, attention-getting, Every conversation stopped. Frank. She used my first name. Never Dad. Never Mr. Holloway. Frank, like I was the handyman. We don't have room. Why don't you eat in the kitchen? You'd be more comfortable. The kitchen. Eat in the kitchen while strangers sat at my table. Ate the food I'd cooked for 9 hours. On china I'd bought with my wife. I looked at Craig. He studied his napkin. I'll just sit right here, I said. There's room. Vanessa's sister Brooke shifted uncomfortably. Tyler took a long drink of wine. The book club couples exchanged glances. Marcus started to stand, started to say something. Craig spoke first. Dad, come on, don't make this weird. Just grab a plate and eat in the kitchen. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. My son, in my house, at my table, telling me to eat alone in the kitchen on Thanksgiving. Vanessa saw me hesitating and misread it as compliance. Her voice shifted to that bright, performative tone people use when they think they've won. Frank likes his space. Anyway, he's more comfortable on his own. Aren't you, Frank? I looked at her, then at Craig, then at Sophie, who sat frozen, eyes wide, fork in her hand, watching everything with the terrible clarity children have when they see adults failing. Something settled inside me. Not anger. Clarity. The kind that comes when you've been making excuses for people and suddenly stop. I set the chair back against the wall, walked past the dining room, not to the kitchen, to the hallway closet. I reached behind the winter coats, behind the boxes of Christmas decorations, and pulled out a manila folder. Thick, heavy, tabbed with colored dividers, 18 months of documentation. I walked back to the dining room, stood at the entrance. Everyone was watching. You don't live here anymore, old man. Vanessa said it with a smile. Like a joke everyone was supposed to laugh at. Know your place. I set the folder on the table, right next to the turkey. I'd like everyone who is not the owner of this house to leave. Now, Vanessa laughed, a short, sharp, disbelieving sound. Excuse me? This is my house. I bought it in 1993. I have the deed in this folder, along with every check I've written to support you, every bill I've paid for 18 months, every receipt, every document proving that you have contributed nothing. You are guests. And your invitation just expired. Vanessa turned to Craig. Tell your father to sit down. Craig's face was white. Dad, you can't be serious. It's Thanksgiving. I'm completely serious. You have 30 minutes to pack what you can carry and leave my house. Vanessa stood up. You can't kick us out. We live here. We have rights. I've looked it up. I know you have. I pulled out the photograph printout of her adverse possession research. I found this on the kitchen counter 2 months ago. You've been planning to take my house. In Virginia, adverse possession requires 15 years of continuous, hostile, open, and exclusive possession. You've been here 18 months as invited guests. You have no claim. My attorney has already confirmed this. The room was silent. Brooke's fork was frozen midair. Tyler had stopped breathing. The book club couples were mentally calculating how fast they could reach the door. Marcus leaned back in his chair with the expression of a man who'd been waiting for this moment. Craig stood. Dad, let's talk about this privately. We're past private conversations, Craig. You asked me to move to my own basement. Your wife told her friends I'd be in a nursing home without you. You've taken $54,000 from me and never repaid a cent. You let this woman rearrange my home, disrespect my late wife's memory, and tell me to eat in the kitchen on Thanksgiving. We're done talking. Vanessa's composure cracked. Her voice went shrill. You can't just throw us out. Where are we supposed to go? We have a child. You have 30 minutes. I suggest you use them. The guests left in under 2 minutes. Brooke and Tyler practically ran. The book club couples mumbled apologies without making eye contact. Marcus stopped at the door, squeezed my shoulder. About time, Frank. He was the only one who said anything. Craig and Vanessa stood in the dining room surrounded by a feast nobody would eat. The turkey still steaming, the cranberry sauce glistening, Dorothy's china catching the light. Vanessa tried one more time. If you kick us out, you'll never see Sophie again. That threat. She thought it was her strongest card. She didn't know it was her weakest. I already have a family court attorney, I said. Gerald Whitfield recommended one. Grandparent visitation rights in Virginia are well established, especially when the grandchild has been living in the grandparent's home. You want to play that game, Vanessa? You will lose. Her face crumbled, not into sadness, into the particular expression of someone who realizes every card in their hand is worthless. They packed in 20 minutes, 2 suitcases each. Sophie came to me last, small backpack on her shoulders, tears on her cheeks. She wrapped her arms around my waist. "I'm sorry, Grandpa. You have nothing to be sorry for, sweetheart. This isn't about you. I love you. I will always love you. And I will always be here." She nodded against my chest. Then Vanessa took her hand, and they walked out the front door into the November cold. I stood in the doorway and watched their car pull away. The taillights disappeared around the corner on Maple Hill Road. Then, silence. Real silence. The kind that fills a house when it finally belongs to you again. I closed the door, locked it, sat down at the head of my table, at my place, looked at the Thanksgiving dinner I'd spent 9 hours making for people who didn't deserve it, and ate alone. Turkey was perfect. The next morning, I changed every lock. Virginia Lock and Key sent a technician by noon. 3 exterior doors, $280. New brass deadbolts, new keys. Only 2 copies, both mine. Monday morning, I called Gerald Whitfield, told him everything. He wasn't surprised. "I warned you 18 months ago." "I know. I should have listened. You're listening now. Here's what we do." Gerald connected me with Rebecca Sloan, a civil litigation attorney in Alexandria. Sharp, methodical, no patience for nonsense. We met at her office on King Street, old brick building, tall windows, law books lining every wall. I set the folder on her conference table, same folder from Thanksgiving. She opened it, and her eyebrows rose higher with every page. $54,000 in direct payments. "You have canceled checks for all of this?" "Every one, plus bank statements, plus text messages, where Craig promised to repay." She read Craig's text from March. "Dad, I promise I'll pay back every dollar once I'm working again. You're saving us." "This is clear evidence of a loan, not a gift," Rebecca said. "And living expenses?" $38,000 documented. Utility bills, grocery receipts, all in my name. They contributed $0. Total claim, $92,000. $92,000. I confirmed. She leaned back. "This is one of the most thoroughly documented cases I've ever seen. Most people don't keep records like this. I was in commercial appraisal for 35 years. I documented everything. It's what I do." She smiled. "Lucky for you. Let's prepare the complaint, but hold off filing. See what they do first." I didn't have to wait long. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, a process server knocked on my door. Craig and Vanessa were suing me. Their complaint claimed constructive tenancy, partial ownership through improvements, and emotional distress for wrongful eviction during a holiday. Their attorney was Dennis Farrell, a name I didn't recognize. I looked him up. Virginia State Bar showed 12 cases in 4 years and 2 disciplinary warnings. Budget lawyer. Desperation hire. I called Gerald. He laughed. Not at me. At the complaint. Constructive tenancy with no lease and no rent payments. Partial ownership through improvements in a house they don't own. Emotional distress for being asked to leave by the actual owner. This is dead on arrival, Frank. Let them file. Let them embarrass themselves. Rebecca Sloan agreed. She prepared our response and countersued for $92,000. The initial hearing was set for January. During those weeks, I learned through neighborhood connections that Craig and Vanessa had found an apartment in Manassas, 40 minutes from Lexington. Rough area. Craig was working at a home improvement store, hourly wage. Vanessa had picked up a part-time receptionist job. Sophie had transferred schools mid-year. I learned something else, too. Through a former colleague in commercial real estate, I heard rumors about Vanessa's previous employer, a marketing firm called Apex Strategies in Arlington. She'd left suddenly 2 years before marrying Craig. My colleague's exact words were, "There was an accounting issue. She resigned before it became official. I hired a forensic accountant. Cost me $3,000. Worth every penny." The accountant found that Vanessa had been managing client billing accounts at Apex and had redirected approximately $41,000 through a series of inflated vendor invoices to a personal account. The firm discovered it, confronted her, and accepted her resignation in exchange for partial repayment and a non-disclosure agreement. She repaid $12,000, and the NDA kept everyone quiet. This wasn't directly relevant to my case, but it painted a picture, a pattern of financial manipulation that predated Craig, predated me, predated all of it. Vanessa didn't just stumble into exploiting my generosity. She had practice. I gave this information to Rebecca. She filed it as background evidence for the civil case, relevant to establishing character and pattern of behavior regarding financial obligations. January arrived cold and sharp. Fairfax County Circuit Court, an imposing building that smelled like old paper and authority. Rebecca and I arrived at 8:45. Craig and Vanessa were already there with Dennis Farrell, who looked like he'd barely reviewed his own filing. Judge Patricia Townsend presided. Mid-60s, silver hair, reputation for efficiency and zero tolerance for time wasting. The hearing lasted 20 minutes. Dennis Farrell argued constructive tenancy. Judge Townsend asked for a lease agreement. There was none. She asked for rent receipts. There were none. She asked for documentation of property improvements. Farrell offered to provide testimony. Judge Townsend's voice could have frozen the Potomac. I don't accept testimony in lieu of documentation, Mr. Farrell. Do you have receipts, contracts, or bank statements showing your clients contributed to this property? No, Your Honor. But, motion to dismiss the tenancy claim. Granted. She moved to the emotional distress claim. Mr. Farrell, your clients are claiming emotional distress from being asked to leave a property they don't own, didn't rent, and didn't contribute to? Farrell tried to argue the holiday context. Judge Townsend cut him off. Dismissed. With prejudice. Then Rebecca presented our counterclaim. $54,000 in documented loans with text message evidence of repayment promises. $38,000 in documented living expenses absorbed by the plaintiff. Total $92,000. Dennis Farrell had no rebuttal. Craig sat white-faced. Vanessa's hands trembled in her lap. Judge Townsend reviewed the evidence for several minutes. I could hear the wall clock ticking. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $92,000. Given the defendant's financial circumstances, I'm ordering a structured payment plan. $600 per month, joint, and several liability. She looked at Craig and Vanessa. That's roughly 12.5 years. I suggest you use that time wisely. In the corridor afterward, Vanessa walked away without speaking. Craig lingered. His face was a landscape of emotions I couldn't fully read. Shame, anger, grief, something else underneath. Dad, his voice cracked. I'm sorry, for all of it. I looked at my son, saw the boy who'd ridden his bicycle in the driveway, saw the man who'd let his wife erase me from my own life. I believe you mean that right now, I said. Whether you still mean it in 6 months will tell me more. He nodded, walked away, didn't look back. 3 weeks later, Sophie called me. First time since Thanksgiving, her voice was small and careful. Grandpa, can we have lunch? I miss you. We met at a diner near her new school in Manassas. She ordered a grilled cheese and didn't touch it. They fight all the time, she said. Mom yells about money. Dad sleeps on the couch. Mom said you're rich, and you abandoned us. Dad said you did what you had to do. She looked at me with eyes too old for 8 years. Which one is telling the truth? I took her hand across the table. Your dad and I disagreed about some important things, but I didn't abandon anyone. I'm right here. I will always be right here. She squeezed my hand. That's what I thought. The weeks that followed brought what I'd expected. Craig and Vanessa filed for divorce in March. Through Rebecca's connections, I learned the details. They split debts roughly equally. Vanessa kept the Volvo I'd paid for. Craig kept nothing of value. Credit card debt, my judgment, legal fees. Each walked away, owing more than they owned. Craig got an apartment closer to Lexington, applied for a better job, started paying his share of the judgment on time. $300 a month, like clockwork. No complaints, no arguments, just payments. Vanessa moved in with her sister Brooke in Fairfax, stopped paying after the second month. The forensic accounting information about Apex Strategies found its way to the right people. I didn't push it, didn't have to. Rebecca mentioned it to a colleague at a networking event. Word travels in legal circles the way it travels everywhere, through people who can't resist sharing what they know. In April, Craig asked to meet me for coffee. Just us. We sat at a cafe in downtown Lexington. Spring light coming through the windows, dogwoods blooming on the street outside. He looked better, thinner, but healthier, like someone who'd been forced to carry his own weight and found he could. Dad, I need to tell you something. He wrapped both hands around his coffee cup. I knew Vanessa was planning to take the house. She showed me the research months before Thanksgiving. I told her it was wrong. She said it was practical. I went along with it because I was scared of her and scared of being on my own. I listened, didn't interrupt. She handled all our finances. I didn't know about the credit cards until collectors started calling. I didn't know about the Apex thing until Rebecca's filing mentioned it. He looked down. I didn't know a lot of things because I chose not to look. That last sentence landed differently than the rest. Self-awareness, not self-pity. I could have stopped all of this, Craig continued. The first time she disrespected you, the first time she rearranged your house, the first time she called you old man. I should have stood up. I didn't. That's on me. We sat in silence for a while. Traffic passed outside. Someone laughed at another table. Normal life happening around a conversation that was anything but. I want to earn your trust back, he said. I'm not asking for forgiveness yet. I haven't earned it. But I'm paying the judgment. I'm showing up for Sophie, and I'm telling you the truth for the first time in years. I looked at my son, saw Dorothy's eyes in his face. Her stubbornness, too, which could be a strength when pointed in the right direction. Forgiveness is a process, I said. Not a moment. You're starting it. That's enough for now. He nodded, finished his coffee, stood to leave, then turned back. Dad, for what it's worth, that turkey was the best meal I've ever had. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that night. I almost smiled. Almost. Summer came warm and long. Gerald and I kept up our poker games at the VFW every other Friday. One evening, shuffling cards on his back porch, he studied me over his reading glasses. You got everything you wanted. House, money, justice, even your son coming around. How does it feel? I dealt the cards slowly. It feels necessary. Not good, not bad, necessary. That's the most honest answer I've ever heard about revenge. It's not revenge, Gerald. It's accountability. Revenge is about hurting someone. Accountability is about making sure the truth matters. He picked up his cards, arranged them, discarded one. Sophie staying with you this weekend? Saturday and Sunday. We're making Dorothy's chocolate cake. She wants to learn the recipe. Gerald smiled. Dorothy would have liked that. She would have liked all of it, I said, except the part where it was necessary. I laid down my hand. Full house. Gerald studied the cards, shook his head. You always did play the long game, Frank. That evening, after Gerald left, I sat on my back porch in the chair Dorothy had picked out in 2003. The neighborhood was quiet. Crickets and distant traffic. Fireflies in the backyard. The first of the season. My phone buzzed. Text from Craig. Payment sent. On time as always. Then a second text. Sophie's excited about this weekend. She's been talking about Grandma's cake all week. I set the phone down. Looked at the house behind me. Windows lit warm. Every room mine again. The study restored. My desk back where it belonged. Dorothy's diplomas on the walls next to mine. The living room arranged the way I liked it. The recliner back in its rightful place. The kitchen where I'd stood at 4:30 on a Thanksgiving morning, cooking for people who'd forgotten whose home they were in. I thought about what Gerald said. The long game. Maybe that's what this was. Not a game with winners and losers, but a long, painful lesson about what happens when you let people mistake kindness for weakness. When you give everything, and they take it as their due. When your own son forgets whose table he's sitting at. The lesson cost me $92,000 and 18 months of dignity. But it bought something money couldn't. The truth about who people really are when they think you have nothing left to offer. And the knowledge that standing up for yourself, even when it hurts, even when it means standing alone on Thanksgiving night eating turkey by yourself, is always worth it. Dorothy's voice, clear as the evening air. Never let anyone make you small in your own home. I never did. Not anymore. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had someone take advantage of your generosity? How did you handle it? And if you want to hear another story, click the link on the left. Thank you for watching.